Today is the 35th anniversary of Back to the Future. There are 3 Back to the Future films, part 1, part 2, and part 3. I love the Back to the Future films. I have the 30th anniversary trilogy Blu-ray box set. Never again will I be doing that. But I didn't actually get this on the 30th anniversary in 2015. I got this on Back to the Future Day, the 25th of October 2015. I was alive for that. I'm assuming loads of you were as well. But like, imagine how when years to come where like kids who are younger than us are watching Back to the Future and we get to say, yeah, we were alive for the day that they came to the future. Obviously the people who were alive when the films were made, and that's more impressive I suppose, but still. And yes, even though the future didn't bring as fantastical things as the films suggested they would, we're still in a pretty cool place. Well, I mean, we were in 2015. I don't know about now. Well, since I am such a big fan of the Back to the Future films, I thought that I would review the first film on the 35th anniversary, but with a bit of a twist. If you're a fan of the Spider-Man fan film community, you will know that a big contributor is the Lonely Spider YouTube channel. I was watching one of their live streams and Eric said that he'd recently finished the Back to the Future films and that he is now like a massive fan. So we decided to do a bit of a collaboration. So we are going to go all the way over to Canada to talk to Eric from the Lonely Spider. Well, you guys are, I'm not. I'm going to stay here in Wales, millions of miles on the other side of the earth. But you guys get to go now, so yeah, let's go.
Thanks, Nate. Hey everyone, my name is Eric from the channel TheLonelySpider, and recently I have finished the Back to the Future trilogy. I watched the first one a long time ago, but I'd never seen the other 2 parts until about a month and a half ago. And I gotta say, out of the 3 installments, my favorite one is the first one, Back to the Future. Now, I know it's not exactly a hot take for the first one to be your favorite, and to be honest, everyone I've ever talked to, the first installment is their favorite, and that's for good reason. The first one is just a masterclass on how to make a really fun and enjoyable movie with some great characters. I mean, come on. Marty McFly, Doc Brown, George McFly, Biff, Lorraine, the list goes on and on. Even the dog Einstein is lovable. In my personal opinion, I think this movie is a masterclass of setting things up early on. Act 1 is, whether you notice it or not, devoted almost entirely to setup, even in little ways. Such examples can be seen when Marty and Jennifer are hanging out and the person waves the can of coins in their face asking for donations to save the clock tower. That may be a little throwaway line, a little throwaway funny moment, but it's actually brought back later in the script when the clock tower's importance is truly shown. The first act is also phenomenal at world building. In fact, I believe the whole movie is phenomenal at world building. You get to see Hill Valley change throughout the time periods while also still remaining close to what it was. Like how the big shopping center was once farmland, and like I said earlier, all that is referenced to and introduced to in the first act, and you get to see it play out in the second act and third act in really phenomenal ways. The first act also does a really good job of setting up the themes of the movie and the characters. Right away, we already get a great idea of who Marty and Doc Brown are, and we get to see Lorraine and George McFly in 1985, the present, and when the movie introduces us to them, it's quite a shock to see who they are 30 years prior to. So we get to almost imagine what character development would have happened in that 30 years, and then we get to see that development play out throughout the rest of the movie and how Marty influences how those characters develop. Also, I should say the performances are really, really, really great. They're nothing like groundbreaking or Oscar-worthy, but everyone in the movie seems to be having the time of their lives, and it's really contagious. This movie's just really fun to watch. It's really fun to see little pieces of everything go together throughout time and see how Marty influences his parents' past in order to create a better future for him and his family. And watching all the pieces slowly be put together is really fun to watch. That's the best way I can describe this movie. It's just a really good time. I also really love that small father and son moment where Marty can't open a bottle and George does it for him. Marty knows that George is his father, but George doesn't know that Marty is his son. And it's kind of like a sweet fatherly moment that, you know, exceeded the barrier of them not fully understanding who each other are. Not sure if I worded that correctly, but I'm hoping it lands. Nate, you can cut this out if you want, but it's kind of hard to describe why I like that scene. Just go watch it on YouTube. The comment section describes it better than I did. Speaking of George McFly, he is my favorite character. Doc Brown and Marty aren't exactly the most deep, like, well-developed characters, but they have their development, and I feel like those characters are there to develop Lorraine and George. We get to see how Marty and Doc are the catalyst to change George into the George from the past to the successful George of the future. And it's really fun seeing that character grow through Marty and Doc. This film also has one of my favorite scenes in all of cinema, like probably top 3, and that would be the Earth Angel / Johnny B. Good scene. For me, that is like the ultimate climax of all these characters finally getting what they want and finally making that leap. It's like, if this was an action movie, to me, the Earth Angel Johnny B. Good scene would be the final battle, so to speak. It's the culmination of all these characters, all these motives, and all the growth that they've happened in the movie. And it's so fun. The scene is a damn good time. I still get chills when George kisses Lorraine and the music swells up as Marty stands up after almost being disintegrated, just blasting the music, and then just turning it on its head and cranking out Johnny B. Good. Oh my god! I guess you guys aren't ready for that yet, but your kids are gonna love it. But yeah, if I really had to wrap it up, put my favorite things about this movie into a top 5, it would be the world building, the way this movie sets up things near flawlessly, how much the fun is contagious in this film. You just watch the movie and you have a fun time. I've never seen someone not have fun watching Back to the Future. What this movie brought to the sci-fi genre, and my number 1 thing would be the characters, because who doesn't love any of the characters in this movie? Even Biff is so much fun to watch on screen. So yeah, those are my brief thoughts on Back to the Future. Thank you, Nate, for having me and giving me the opportunity to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time. That is my opinion on Back to the Future. Now, let's see what Nate thinks about it.
Well, after watching that, you can clearly tell he is a big fan of this movie. But he very much bigged it up a lot, and I don't blame him. I adore the film. But I do have some issues. But let's talk about what I really think stands out first. I completely agree with him that the entire enchantment into the sea dance, you know, scene, it's not even a scene, it's more than one scene, but just whilst the dance is going on, everything that builds up to the end of the movie is great. Johnny B. Good is great, just that entire scene was fantastic. There's just non-stop movement, there's payoffs, there's character closures, well, as we think, obviously, you know, part 2 and part 3, but so much happens that's just perfect. And like I said, it's just non-stop action, and it's not even action as in all fights, all of this. There's just so much going on, like, it's so entertaining, it's so mesmerizing, and like I just know for a fact when I watched it for the first time, I was just like, I just didn't know what to think. It's so good. And the attention to detail in this film is perfect. Like Eric mentioned, the guy with the clock tower asking for change. When Lorraine mentions that their uncle is in jail, and then we see their uncle as a baby in his cot, in his crib, and, you know, obviously there's bars, like, things like that. Like, it's very funny, it's very entertaining, but written amazingly. Now, like I said, there's some things about this movie that I don't understand. There's only 2. But I feel like it's worth mentioning, and I feel like everyone has a problem with this first one. Why is this 50 to 60-year-old man best friends with this teenager? Like, I just like to know. I could be completely blanking. It might have been explained, but I don't know. So obviously, wasn't explained good enough. Like, why is Doc Brown, like, in his 60s, doing all this stuff with Marty? Like, is he a friend of the family? Like, is he? Because obviously, if we're kind of like Rick and Morty was like, oh, it's just a grandfather, but like, he doesn't call him the grandfather, he calls him Doc. So is it his grandfather? Is it just like a family friend? Who knows? My second issue is, so the film opens where basically George McFly works for Biff. That's what it is. Biff is like really rich, George McFly works for him. After they change the past and things, you know, change in the future, Biff works for George McFly and the entire McFly family. So this is my issue, okay? Why have they let the man who harassed George and harassed Lorraine and did awful things work for them. Now I understand it's meant to be a thing on power play. He works for us because we are better than him. But let me tell you this, right? If someone harasses me and harasses my wife, girlfriend, or they were girlfriend at the time, wife now obviously, I don't care whether it's power play, any of that stuff. I am not letting that man work for me, with me. I'm not paying any money to that dick, right? No way. So even though I get the idea that it's kind of, you know, it's meant to be power play, you know, the roles are flipped, why on earth would you do that? I would have preferred them seeing Biff being like, he doesn't have to be, no, he doesn't have to be homeless or nothing. He can still be successful in his own right in some way. But I still want him to look up to George. I don't want George being looked down on by him. But I just don't want him working for him, because George worked for Biff because, like, you know, he'd do anything for him. So he's like, yeah, you know what, I'm going to get that guy work with me. Yeah, I'll look down on you. But now George and Lorraine are just paying him, and they harassed the both of them. He harassed the both of them. I don't care who you are. If you're doing that to me, if you're harassing me and my wife, I am not letting you work for me. Like, I don't care. So like, that's the one thing I'd change, because like, other than that, like, the film's very, very good. The film's amazing. But I just never understood that. Like, why would somebody want that? Because like, the McFlys don't even seem to be like dickish people at all. Like, they seem to be nice, so it's not as if they'd be like, haha, we're gonna make him work, we're gonna make him suffer. Like, that wouldn't, like, that probably was in the mindset. So I don't understand. I don't understand. Also, just on the side, in this new timeline, is Marty called Marty because of Marty? Because obviously to them he was Calvin Klein. So like, that'd be weird. And also, when there was Calvin Klein clothing, when that, like, you know, came out, were they like, oh, that's funny, I knew a guy called Calvin Klein, do you reckon he was the one who did that? Or when Marty grew up, do you reckon they were like, Marty, you look a lot like a guy that I knew called Calvin Klein? Like, was there influence in that sense? That's a weird one. I don't understand. Not even that it's bad, it's just something that I'd like to know. Something that'd be cool to find out. You know, maybe if they ever did part 4, which, like, they don't have to, and like, I'd prefer if they didn't, just because this trilogy is so perfect. If they did, you know, I'd have hope, but, you know, maybe they do something like Ghostbusters, where it's like, same universe, new generation, time travel. I don't know. But anyway, Michael J. Fox, massive respect to him. He's a fantastic actor. Christopher Lloyd, all the same. He's absolutely brilliant. Everyone, like Eric said, every single person in this film, no one was like extraordinarily fantastic. Like, they weren't like, oh my god, they need an Oscar. But everyone clearly had fun. Everyone put their all into these roles, and like, that's just what makes the film even better, because the characters are relatable, and not just relatable because they say they have these problems, because like, they feel like they have these problems, which what makes the character. There we are, guys. That is our review on Back to the Future. Thank you so much, Eric, for being a part of this and doing this little collaboration. He actually has a new kind of Back to the Future parody fan film out on his channel. You should go check it out. I did some VFX for him, but you know, like, the film just on itself is fantastic. And I think he likes to point out that it is very much a parody, but like, whilst watching it, like, it is just funny. Like, it is just really cool. Thank you guys so much for watching. We upload videos every Wednesday and Saturday, unless it calls for it. Like, today is a Friday, but this is the anniversary of Back to the Future, so that's why you guys are getting this video. We are very close to 2,000 subscribers, and there will be a giveaway when we get there, so consider subscribing. You know, it's free. You don't have to, just to click. Thank you guys, and we will see you very soon. Goodbye.